You gonna do the intro?
Go. Good afternoon, crypto freaks. This is Brett Musser with Edge, and I'm joined by Paul Pui, our very own CEO. How you doing, Paul?
Doing well. Good to be back into the live Q&A. I think it's been a couple of weeks since I was here.
It's good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
I feel more comfortable at the table now.
We got more to talk about. Yeah.
Let's make sure if you're watching right now at home or wherever you happen to be, don't hesitate to launch us some questions. We're happy to answer anything you have about crypto, about Edge, but not anything too personal. That's definitely
You could try. We might not answer.
Yeah, it's definitely not our area of expertise.
Yep. We're on Periscope and we're on YouTube. Those good
Periscope,
spots.
YouTube, Twitter. We can feel
It might be a little tough. We can only have so many screens on here, but definitely Periscope or YouTube. Fire off any questions. We'll try to answer them during the course of the next half hour.
Is there any other places to ask questions?
For now, let's stick to those two. I think those are two good
Periscope
spots.
and YouTube. That's where you ask questions.
Cool. All right, what we're going to cover today as far as questions in the industry that people that have been coming across our plate.
Well, let's talk about the dirty word.
The dirty word.
Facebook coin or Facecoin, Facebucks. What's going on? Crypto.
That's like 3-4 letter words. Face, book.
I deleted my Facebook
and
about
coin.
a year ago.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
You know you did because you think you did, but you didn't really.
Why? What happened?
Because nothing is ever deleted in the World Wide Web.
They probably have some backup copy somewhere.
Yeah. So I think you had read recently that it was definitively confirmed that Facebook is launching a coin. Do you want to cover any details as to what the coin's going to look like?
Wall Street Journal is reporting it. Well, from what I was reading, it looks like it'll be a payment-focused coin. They really want to stamp out volatility, so I don't think it'll be anything like a Bitcoin or a Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash. It'll definitely be my prediction will be, and I think other people are saying this, that it'll be some type of pegged value coin. Maybe it'll be a basket of fiat currencies because Facebook kind of thinks of themselves as they seem like a global platform, global platform, even a mini nation state on the internet. With they have their users and customers, and they know about a third of the world uses Facebook now in some way. They log in.
Biggest country in the world.
So, and they know people like to buy things, and crypto's big, and they're looking for investors and other payment processors and people
growth
in crypto.
Right.
Yeah. They think this is a huge market, and they're looking to dive in with some type of pegged fiat payment system that'll go through Facebook.
It's interesting. With the scope of this Q&A, I ask myself, what's the big question that people are always asking us about it? Like, no one's asking us yet, are you going to support it? That's like, who knows whether or not Edge will support Facebook coin. We don't know if we could. And that's actually diving into the roots of the question is, what exactly will it be? Could we support it if we wanted to? Did you just drink my coffee?
Oh,
Hope you enjoyed it. It was good, though, right?
You know what? It was good. It was a little creamy. It was a little creamy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm more of a dark soul.
Coffee fan.
Yeah.
But
you're the light.
Yeah, it's the white in me. But Facebook coin, whether or not we could support it, kind of starts to ask that question of what it will be and what kind of value it will bring to the world. So why did people get into crypto? I think there's multiple big advantages of crypto in the first place. And I keep asking the question of is not whether or not Facebook coin will be decentralized, because I just don't care about that word, but more like what is it going to bring as far as the value proposition that cryptocurrency and Bitcoin when it first came out in 2009. What is it going to bring in that sense? So will it be inflation resistant? Well, if it's pegged to fiat currencies, then no, right? That's inherently you're not going to have inflation resistance, or at least I call it arbitrary few white men inflation resistance. All right, is it going to be a fixed inflation? Yes. If you're pegged to fiat, then no, there's no way you're going to have that. Are you going to be pegged to gold? Potentially, then you have some aspect of inflation resistance. Is it going to be accessible by anyone anywhere in the world with an internet connection, or are you going to need Facebook to access it? That starts to really beg the question, because if you need Facebook to access this coin, no part of the cryptocurrency industry should be excited about this coin, because it's not a cryptocurrency if you need Facebook to access it. At that point, it's dead. It's no different than Venmo.
The thing that I'm excited
with
about
coin added to it.
The thing that I'm excited about is it just confirms our narrative.
narrative of
crypto's relevant, and
I mean that's
like digital money is the future.
except that it's not crypto. It is digital money, but we've had digital money.
Well, they're reporting that it's going to be cryptocurrency based. So I don't know if that means are there private public key pairs. I have no idea.
Really, what's the minimum
have no
requirement
idea.
to call something a cryptocurrency?
That's a good question.
So we've defined it as what is somewhat similar to Bitcoin has
Oh, now I'm confused.
has properties. This is
I need to
mine.
move
This is
mine
mine.
away.
Yeah, away. Yes, move it away. So we can both be
Coffee
left-handed.
confusion.
But we've defined cryptocurrencies as those having similar properties to Bitcoin, right? Maybe not with the same level of decentralization, but with at least an attempt at that in a similar architecture. But if you inherently need Facebook to access Facebook Coin, how different are you than a Venmo?
But then again, Facebook already has network effects, which every crypto wants.
But is it a crypto? Is the real question.
Well, I would say, is the minimum requirement to become a cryptographic keys?
That's an interesting question because we could actually
have like a chain of cryptographic signatures. Is that the minimum viable?
Well, one could say that the minimum requirement is that you have a private key that you use to sign a message to prove your identity to the database and to prove ownership of the money to a database. A bank today could accept a public and private key signature to log into the website.
They already do that, don't they?
Not to my understanding.
Oh, okay.
At least not in the U.S. There might be some other regions that support, I think, like the FIDO protocol that allow you to authenticate to a bank website. Now, by authenticating to their website, you're authenticating to their database and authenticating a transfer of money. Does that inherently then become a cryptocurrency? I would say no. I would say a cryptocurrency is a collection of several technologies and traits, but at its kind of root is the ability to transfer without a third party.
So yeah, I guess
that is a core piece.
So it's two pieces. One is some type of use of public key cryptography and linking transactions that way, and then second would be a lack of a central entity that can read and write or append the database
or choose whether or not the transaction can push through.
You don't necessarily need the level of decentralization Bitcoin has to become a cryptocurrency. So we'll say let's call Bitcoin the most decentralized cryptocurrency. But there's a scale at which
Bitcoin was a cryptocurrency when Satoshi was the only miner.
Yeah, so
it was fully centralized.
It doubled to Hal Finney.
But I think it's the technology rather than the state of the network that I usually look at in defining something as a cryptocurrency and whether or not it has at least the potential to be decentralized. So there's the state of the network as in, where are the miners today and how many of them are there and how many nodes are there. But really also, how well can the technology become decentralized, or is it inherently reliant on a single entity? So Bitcoin was fully centralized with Satoshi only mining,
but it had the architecture to become embedded in it.
It had the architecture for that. And that's the question I will have of Facebook Coin is, does it have the architecture so that it can be accessible by anyone in the world without using Facebook, without having a third party that can say, no, you can or can't send this transaction? And interestingly enough, if it is pegged, what's the mechanism by which it's pegged? Is it a third party that's holding it, such as Tether, which is a whole nother rabbit hole that maybe we do or don't go into?
Is it asset-backed or is it algorithmic?
Or is it asset and algorithmic, kind of a half and half, like DAI, exactly, where it's an asset there, but there's an algorithm that makes a different asset, a cryptocurrency-specific asset, stable to a non-cryptocurrency asset. Ether to dollar is what DAI is doing.
I want to assume that there is going to be a central party, Facebook, that can read and write, or read the database and write to it. So what do we call it then?
We call it Venmo. Venmo Coin. What if Venmo announced that they were going to launch a cryptocurrency called Venmo Coin, and they didn't do anything different?
The way it works now, they do have Venmo Coin, right?
Correct.
Because you're not transferring between your bank account. You're just transferring on their database, right?
Between people on Venmo. Exactly.
So what do you call it now? I'm saying, what's the word for it? If it's not a cryptocurrency, what is it?
It's digital currency. It's digital. It's centralized digital currency.
Digital currency.
It's bank. It's a standard bank payment method. It's a standard kind of centralized payment method, and that's entirely fine. Venmo is very useful to a ton of millennials.
I've used it with my friends.
Oh, you're more millennial than you claim to be.
I'm
But yes.
embarrassed to say it, but yeah, I identify as Gen Z, but I am a millennial.
Yes, you are.
By birth.
So these fintech tools are still useful, and they improve the banking system dramatically. But let's try to have a bit more clear of a definition of what cryptocurrency is and what its value proposition is. And that's where I think it differentiates significantly from the Venmos of the world. And this is the part of Facebook or Facebook coin that I'm struggling to find. Now let's take the best case. Let's say Facebook actually launched something that was accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world. How would they actually include that as part of their entire business model? That to me is actually an interesting question. And what are the ways that a very, very large, established, very centralized, very data aggregating company could use a very decentralized, very accessible, censorship-resistant coin, or launch one, and still fit that into their business model, and to basically still make money off of it?
I would say a fractional reserve model would be the best one, historically.
Then now, is that still accessible to anyone, anywhere in the world?
No, I don't. Not
Like
that.
GUSD, correct me if I'm wrong. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong online. But I believe some of the Tether-like coins, like the GUSDs, USDCs, actually implement an aspect of censorship resistant. I mean, they can block a transaction from going through if they deem that transaction is going to an illicit party. Even though it's an ERC20 token that's just on Ethereum, right? They could simply say, well, we've tainted, that transfer is now tainted, it's hit that address, and it can no longer be redeemed back into actual dollars using the parties that contribute to it. So a similar thing could happen, and many governments will likely stamp into requiring that out of any coin that is backed by a non-cryptocurrency asset.
I mean, there's no way they're going to be censorship resistant. They just kicked off people for speech violations on there, and they've been doing that.
And I'm not saying that they will be, but it's interesting to paint the picture of how can big companies actually see the future of crypto and adopt it into their business model in a way that still allows them to have a financial benefit from it. Because I'm not the kind of person who thinks that these big companies should just be nice, and be ideologically aligned with the crypto world, but actually incorporate in a way that still makes financial sense. Now, Facebook in and of itself doesn't provide these kind of services to begin. It doesn't provide. There is like this Facebook Pay, which not too many people use to my best of my knowledge. But if they do incorporate a cryptocurrency, what are the ways to do that? Now, if it were, and I'm not saying that it is going to be this, but a thought that's crossed my mind, and I've mentioned this to a few people, is the potential for Facebook to launch an actual, real mined cryptocurrency or proof-of-stake cryptocurrency with them being the primary developers, of course, but allowing open source contributions. But think of the model that Zcash operates under, where, sure, it's open source and anyone is able to mine it, but a portion of the mining rewards goes to them. And that can become a very, very significant amount of money over time, especially as a coin goes up in value. If it goes up in value, then it's not a stable coin. So I'm not saying this is what they're going to do, but think about just any other big company. Like, if you big companies out there, like, consider that as an idea. You've got a lot of people in a user base, the ability to launch a coin, but reap a percentage of the mining rewards. Many people hate that. Actually, I'm probably looking at someone who hates that idea in and of itself. I mean, this is the battle between Grin and Beam.
Okay, and how how development was funded.
How development was funded, and how development will continue to be funded.
Out of mining.
Out of mining, exactly.
Well, like, who does this? Zcash does this, Decred does this, Dash does this.
Actually, Dash and Decred technically don't.
Why not?
Don't do that, because the money goes into a pool which the miners or stakers vote on, versus it going to a company.
It's a little
fully
it's
centralized.
A little more indirect. It's a little more.
It's a little more indirect,
gotcha.
and so it doesn't go to a fully centralized entity. Whereas in Zcash and in Beam, it does. And there's a lot of criticism of that model, but the nice thing about the one kind of positive nugget I take out of that model is, because it's an open source project and it's open network, if that company doesn't prove their worth to the network, like they're not actively developing, putting resources into it, fixing bugs, improving scalability, then the network could choose to simply fork out that reward, right? That 10, 20% of mining that you're getting. The other miners can simply say, well, we just simply don't want you to have that, and we're just going to fork the chain and you don't get that reward. So it keeps the company honest and contributing.
What I'm hearing is there's a really cool way and a good opportunity for Facebook to do this, and I don't think they're going to do any of that.
I don't think they will either.
Well,
but that would be
yeah.
the groundbreaking,
Yeah.
amazing. And
I
in a way,
agree.
it wouldn't even violate any of kind of the regulatory environment. They could allow a fully
They have enough
censorship
smarts and regulatory.
directly in Facebook is probably one of the biggest challenges that I foresee a decentralized currency being enabled in Facebook is the fact that they don't have a really good way for a user to manage keys. We're so used to Facebook as the login mechanism for different other apps, and us just always being logged into Facebook on our phone and on a browser, but nowhere there is a way for them to actually hold a client-side non-custodial key. And so if Facebook, even if Facebook Coin were what I mentioned, and it was actually this kind of a decentralized mind, anybody can access it coin, you'd have 1 billion of its primary users holding their money with a custodian. And so the vast majority of the users wouldn't actually even benefit from the core advantages of a cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
You know, given that they're holding it in a custodian, much like a Coinbase, the Coinbase users don't benefit from a vast majority of the core advantages, other than the upswing of price.
Just speculation.
Other than speculation, you don't benefit from anything else.
From what I'm reading, the focus is definitely on utility and payments. That's what they're focusing on.
And you could do that easily without any cryptocurrency.
But you also don't get headlines in the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, so I would admit this is definitely a great marketing play.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that it's earth-shattering or that it will actually help the cryptocurrency industry. And I'm hearing a lot of podcasters and influencers super excited. Like, ask the biggest question. I think Pomp asks, "Oh, what's the most important company in crypto?" People say Facebook. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Absolutely not the most important company in cryptocurrency. Especially not right now. They're the biggest hype company in cryptocurrency, but I don't think it's the most important.
Yeah.
But
we have a question, by the way.
All right.
Let's see, from @CryptoAces. Hopefully I'm saying that right on Periscope. Have you guys seen an appetite for Fortune 500 companies looking to smaller ones like yourselves? I'm not exactly sure what that means.
Appetite as far as maybe acquisition or use of the technology.
So we're not exactly sure if you could clear that up on Periscope for us, @CryptoAces, what you mean by that. I'll try to answer and say that Fortune 500 companies have, I guess, warmed up to crypto over time. That's what I'll say.
I think
they've definitely warmed up. Why? Because massive price increases, massive trends in user adoption. So people are aware of it, and we get inquiries semi-regularly from big enterprises, and we see, like we were just talking about, Facebook interested in some type of crypto payments platform.
Yeah.
So if you could give us a little more detail on what you meant by that, that would be super.
We've talked, probably the longest convo we've had with any kind of Fortune 500-ish company is Cisco. We talked to them a few years back, and the thing that I noticed is that a lot of these companies have such different data and security models than what crypto kind of requires that it very much alienates what they're so used to. In this case of Cisco, with a lot of their focus on IoT, there's been a lot of talk about crossover between IoT, blockchain, encryption, digital signatures. And in that conversation, it was really hard for them to fathom a world where people accessing these IoT devices or the IoT devices themselves are the only ones that have access to any data, such as a private key.
Yeah, that's a foreign concept to our data security infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly. The data security infrastructure that both we build and that the cryptocurrency industry as a whole is building is incredibly foreign to most Fortune 500 companies. They're used to large IT departments that have access to and can revoke and give access to various silos of data that they might have. And so to answer the question, yes, I think there's interest, but as they dig deeper, they get kind of alienated from it. They're like, this is just
it's
an
almost
oil
like
and water mix.
It's almost like a horse and buggy company that's in the transportation business going to a car manufacturer.
Like, how do we
mash this together? And it's like, horses and cars don't really go together. And not only is Bitcoin and digital currencies not only are they paradigm shifts for money and value transfer, but like you've said many times before, we've turned money purely into data. And when you do that,
Data suddenly becomes
money, and
valuable.
you need to secure it in a much different way.
Right.
Exactly. And all these Fortune 500 companies have set up their either their payment systems or their digital security infrastructure in horse and buggy era, and now we're in internal combustion engine era, right? So there is interest, but it's definitely an alien world to them.
It is. And so I'm unlike the horse and buggy and car kind of analogy. I do think that the kind of what we're already calling legacy system of more centralized security is going to continue to exist, but then again, so does a horse and buggy.
Yeah, exactly.
But it'll also be much more relevant in the future. So that it'll be a combination of needing kind of client-side control of data and money, and still some level of enterprise control of data and money. So that'll continue to exist. But just for the fact of where they currently are today, what currently are Fortune 500 companies are a bit alienated by this kind of tech. Although Fortune 500 changes, and who knows
pretty rapidly.
Who are the Fortune 500 companies of the next 10, 20 years? As those change, I think we'll start to see a closer alignment with this landscape of technology and who are the big companies in the world. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what Facebook does. I think there's many unanswered questions. Both of us, I think, don't believe they will come out with something that is censorship resistant, that being kind of one of the key things.
Not at all.
And so if it's not, I can't help but think that it's not that interesting. And since the vast majority, like the billion people that'll immediately have access to it, will have access to it through a Facebook account, means that they'll have access to it in a custodial manner, which means we're not even putting a non-custodial wallet in the hands of a billion users. To me, if Facebook launched a coin that was pegged and censorship and not censorship resistant, but at least put a decentralized non-custodial wallet in the hands of a billion people that could then later be used for real cryptocurrency, then I could get excited about it, as a cryptocurrency enthusiast. But the fact that they're not going to do either, like I highly doubt they'll do either, makes me a whole lot less excited than most of the people that I hear on crypto Twitter and on a podcast. So,
do you think people are just excited because you got the Facebook name,
Facebook name and the word crypto
and crypto? So
that's
people
the only
are
reason.
That's it, and it lends credence to our narrative that crypto is taking over, so to speak.
That's it. And maybe because I'm not much of a marketing person, I believe more in the substance behind it. And so it's just it doesn't feel like there's any substance behind it.
Oh yeah, I think that's for sure. I think what would be interesting to me, I would like to see a stable coin that kind of reminds me of what the IMF has tried to do with something called the SDR, which is special drawing right, which they wanted to. People have wanted to replace the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency and turn it into like a basket of
currencies,
fiats. Not every fiat, but it would be like dollar, yen, euro type.
Right.
And I think that would be appropriate for Facebook. I have no idea if they're doing that, because they're kind of like a global platform that's very in bed with global regulators,
Exactly.
and they're not. They definitely don't come from crypto, and they like to work with regulators.
Have you seen though the recent?
So I think that would be interesting.
The recent talk, I think, by Zuckerberg, how the next generation of Facebook is private.
Yeah, I did. It was.
And so that fascinates me. Obviously, we have a strong sense and belief in private communications and tools for privacy, but can they really make the pivot to provide privacy tools and change their business model? How in the history of large established companies, how many have actually successfully changed their business model?
Just pulling that wheel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Are
No,
you getting that?
but it's good to look at history and see how many companies have successfully done that. Like IBM has changed their business model.
Let's say GE.
Pretty drastic.
GE's been around for like 100 years now, and the electricity market has definitely changed.
It's changed, but did you change your business model of building things and selling it?
A big part of their business is like financing now and media.
So it's not changing the business model; it's growing it. And
expanding it.
It's expanding
the scope.
It's expanding the scope, but not removing what you were currently making money on. So, by Facebook going private, they're not expanding it. They're literally killing the old business model if they truly went private and having to change it altogether.
Truly went private. What does he mean by private? what is Zuckerberg like? His definition of privacy is a lot off. Is
It could be
very
totally
off compared to like
our definition
people
of
in
privacy.
crypto. Yeah.
So if we make an assumption, and not that they're going to do that, but if we make an assumption that he's actually going to be hiding communication between people such that the company Facebook cannot see it, like that's the true metric, is the company providing the service can't actually see the communication. That to me defines private, but that's their business model. And I don't even know that the technology can support it. Because how do you make me sharing a photo with my X hundreds of friends, but not with the other billion people on Facebook? How do you make that private to just those people when my friend list can change every minute when I add or remove a friend? Cryptography doesn't scale to that level.
And it seems like, and I think you've commented on this before, if it's just like opt-in privacy and other people aren't private, kind of what happens when you use Zcash, just regular Zcash.
Right.
Right. It's kind of like, why? Right. It only helps if everyone is making private transactions.
I mean, it's not that it only helps, but you get this order of magnitude improvement once it's not opt-in but automatic and hidden.
Exactly.
You know, just like iMessage, I give credit to Apple. If they claim to do if they're doing what they claim to do, iMessages are actually private between people sending those messages, and Apple cannot see them. If that's what they've done an amazing job, because no one even knows it's happening. No one knows that there's encryption happening. You're just using it like you would an SMS, and it's private. That kind of tech, and I refer frequently to SSL. You go to a web browser, you type in a URL, and you get a green lock, and you're encrypted between you and that server.
You're good.
And you're good. You don't have to know.
You didn't see any keys.
You don't need keys. There's
You
no
don't have to
public or
back
private.
anything up.
Yeah, you just simply did what you were normally doing to go to a web page. So that to me is it's both kind of hard, but in many ways limiting. And I don't know that that kind of technology scales to social media scale type of an interface. Like we can't change the encryption between the different groups of people at a very dynamic level. So that's a pretty tough thing for social media to accomplish. So I don't expect the privacy to get to that level, which is it's surprising for him to say the future of Facebook is private, because that's simply not. It's not the tool that we come to expect. And in some ways, like I don't expect what I post to Facebook to be private.
Yeah,
I assume it's
the essence of it is its public nature.
Yeah,
and
it's very
distributed
public.
nature.
Yep.
I think we killed the Facebook coin.
I think
story.
it's dead. Yeah.
Do you want to?
We killed the rest of our time too. 12:30. We started about a minute late.
I think you should quickly cover the Electrum DDoS attack.
Yes.
Going on
So
right now
for a lot of the users that are out there listening to the podcast, many have been aware they've run into some issues with connectivity to the network. Various networks, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dash. Some users are able to connect, some aren't. So we'll be just straightforward. What we've experienced happening on two fronts that have caused issues. Number one, there was and still is an ongoing DDoS attack on the Electrum server network, which are a subset of the full nodes that are running on any of these blockchains. And as many of those have gone down, there's now fewer of the servers available for people to connect to. In addition to the attack on servers, there's also an influx of what we call semi-malicious nodes. They're not malicious in that they can quote-unquote take your money, but they generate errors when certain wallets try to connect to them. And those errors, once again, can't take your money, but they can put a message on the screen of the desktop Electrum client, an error message that would cause people to, if they clicked on the error message, go to a malicious website and ask for their keys. So it was a phishing attack. Otherwise, these nodes are actually like quote-unquote legitimate
and
full nodes.
our users weren't susceptible to
Our
those
users
phishing
not,
attacks.
correct. Our
They
users
just
not.
had connectivity issues.
They had connectivities because the network was changing so drastically. There were a bunch of servers added, and then a bunch disappeared, a bunch added, and a bunch disappeared. And due to the kind of very strong client-side nature of Edge, the wallet consistently tries to find efficient, good servers on the network. But when the list of servers grows and shrinks and grows and shrinks, sometimes you might end up having a lot to go and test through that are no longer any good. And the amount of time it can take to go find a good server amongst the potentially thousands that are on the network could take some time. But we've tweaked the heuristics to make that much, much faster and better. And we're seeing really good results with an internal build that we're hoping to push out in the next day. So that's one aspect of a fix to the problem that I know people have been experiencing for a week. We apologize for those issues. Realize that no money was lost, just connectivity to the network. As well, we're also seeing a breaking upgrade to a lot of the Electrum servers on the network. an upgrade that was made that deprecated support for older APIs. And by older, I mean not that old, actually, just like less than a year old. But that change as well affected Edge in the sense that Edge was supporting a range of server versions, but not to the point that some of these newer ones require. So it's just the network is changing, and it's an evolving kind of process. You can never kind of sit on your heels. Like you've got to actively. It's alive. It's a live network. Protocols change, and so we're keeping up to date. But once again, the next release that goes out, hopefully in the next day, should address all of those. And internally, we're using these internal builds, and it's working really smooth.
So we've made some changes to our internal heuristics.
The internal network heuristics.
Internal network heuristics to fix this problem now. Is
Correct,
there anything
correct.
that we need to do going forward? Because this looks like an attack vector that might be open going forward. What are we doing to kind of make our infrastructure more robust for our users?
There's network heuristics, which actually would make it robust in many cases. These are just the things that you learn as the network grows and as you experience more things. You're able to add to a lot of these corner cases. So it's really us finding and dealing with these different corner cases. That's what's getting added to the code and hardening it over time. Other things that we're doing for some networks that don't have a lot of support is supporting them with actual public nodes ourselves. So spinning up public nodes for some of the smaller networks that don't have a lot of servers on the network. And so that's our way of contributing. And these, we always spin up open nodes that we don't just ask access, but other people can access as well. So a mix of staying more up to date with the version upgrades on the Electrum servers, one. Two, tweaking the heuristics to better handle these drastically changing network conditions of a lot of servers and very few.
Server volatility.
You could say that. It actually is. The list of servers have been very volatile. And then number three, hosting some of the nodes ourselves. So a combination of that makes us feel very comfortable about kind of the future of stability of being able to access the network.
And we're happy with the subset that Electrum is kind of running, or the subset of nodes that are a part of these networks. We're happy with how.
Yeah,
Electrum,
no, they've been working very well.
Okay.
Thus far until literally just a couple weeks ago when we started seeing this. And networking is a tricky thing, especially a decentralized network where you're connecting to just nodes out there, other people's machines, including your own, and that's something that most systems never deal with.
Yeah, because you're usually connecting to like
Yourself,
or maybe a trusted third party. Like
exactly,
Facebook.
like an API.
It's like I know I can trust Facebook's
Exactly.
servers for these specific tasks. When we're connecting to public nodes on the network, we have no idea what their past performance was, or
Exactly.
maybe or what their future. Like just because they were good in the past doesn't mean
They're good in the future.
They're good in the future. So we have to always kind of monitor the network, like you were saying, and
Exactly.
Fix things when stuff
fix
breaks.
the network heuristics. And so this is it was definitely a learning process, and we've learned similar things like this in the past that we've now baked into our application. So as an example, our app is one of the few that will go and connect out to the network and then score and rate the servers regarding how good they perform and how well they connect and how long it takes to connect and respond. And internally on your phone, that score gets attached to each of these servers in a list, and having to tweak the heuristics of how they're scored or unscored, kind of punished in the scoring is the heuristic that we're having to tweak over time. But we're seeing good results from some of the recent tweaks.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it in my app.
Yep. Yeah, but it's almost like night and day.
Yeah,
like night
definitely.
and day. So apologize for any of those connectivity issues. Realize money shouldn't have gotten lost by anybody, but look out for the next release.
If you're having issues, hit up our support. They'll be able to send you, I guess, a new build that's in beta right now.
We have a build that's in beta.
Because
It's very stable.
There's some delay that comes with adding things to the App Store. So
Correct,
if you need to connect right away, or you're having, not everyone's having these issues, but if you are having these issues, we can send you a new build, and it'll work right away.
Yes. Contact us, support@edge.app.
I think
Cool.
we
That's it?
covered
Got everything.
Yeah,
All right.
everything.
Last thing is we've got events. I'll be headed over to Consensus in New York, May 13, 14, 15. So, whoa.
Come on, dude.
Got the audio too loud on my computer. But yeah, hope to see people there as well. There is the Crypto Stars event over in New York just before Consensus. Naomi Brockwell, Tatiana Moroz will be performing. A lot of kind of the entertainers in the crypto space will be there Saturday, May 11th. For more details, check out cryptomediahub.com. facebook.com, and hope to see you guys there. Cool? Signing off.